This is Olivier. It's Saturday night, late, and my beautiful girlfriend with blue eyes and who is half my age has left to go to Paris. We had a wonderful weekend, except I had to answer a few trolls from my iPhone. The usual stuff. I thought I'd give you a story of my life, because it looks like the perception is that I'm a very arrogant, horrendous man. I am arrogant, and I have a reason to be, and I'll tell you why. This is my life. I'm French. I was born in France. My father was an engineer, a civil engineer, came out of one of the top schools in France, had an amazing career in engineering, built dams all over the world, was the first one to do hyperbolic dams. First of all, I left France when I was about 5 years old. We first went to Ethiopia, where my father worked for Haile Selassie, the King of Kings, and built 4 hydroelectric power scheme dams that are still working in Ethiopia, providing a lot of electricity for the people. The King Haile Selassie was a very cultured man and invited us often to the palace. Of course, I don't have much recollection because I was about 4 years old, but I have photos of myself with his sons, who were all executed after a revolution, and him, who spoke 5 languages, was very interested in French culture. General de Gaulle came down to see the project, and I have pictures of myself with General de Gaulle. I come from a privileged background. My grandfather was the chief accountant of a major French construction firm. On my mother's side, her father was a school teacher who was sent during the war, to camps in Germany, not because he was Jewish, but because he was an able man to make bombs and things like that, and never came back. My grandmother on my mother's side grew up with 3 daughters and did the best she could to maintain them. On my grandparents' side, Nomblo, we were well off. My mother was a very pretty woman. She met my father, and the first thing my father did was take her to Ethiopia, then to Australia for about 7 years, where I arrived. I was about 8 years old, outside Glen Innes, in a small city called Ashford, when my father built a dam, and I was thrown into the Australian culture, which I enjoyed so much. It's a beautiful country. I saw amazing things as a child, plains of kangaroos, the outback. I still love nature more than anything else. I'm a bit of a solitary man, and I lived in Australia for 7 years. Eventually moved to Sydney, where I went to Scots College, which is an amazing school, the Eton of Australia. Got a very good education there. My father was moved to Indonesia, where I went to high school for a while. The Joint Embassy School, it was called at the time. And I finally did my baccalaureate, or whatever, A-levels, in Singapore at the United World College of Southeast Asia, a school run by Prince Charles. So I've had a fairly good education. After that, I decided to go back to Paris, where I went to the American University in Paris, did a BA in International Business Administration, and then my financial career became aware to me. I first was hired by a Canadian firm called Wood Gundy, which is now part of CIBC, where I was sent to Toronto. I did all the training programs there, passed all the tests, and became a qualified broker. Was then sent to the Paris office to deal with institutional clients, where I developed a fairly good client base following the 1987 crash, where everybody got rid of their brokers and decided to go for new ones, Olivier being one of them. So I developed a very good client base in France, but on the Canadian market, and decided to move to the American market. Joined a firm which was part of Bessemer Trust New York. Bessemer Trust being a very important wealth management firm. I worked there for many years, and out of their Paris chapter, of course, was going to New York regularly, went on the floor, and did some interesting things, like go on the Chicago Board of Exchange floor with a piece of paper and 4 pivot points, and started trading for myself. Interesting sideline. Made some money that way, but decided to go back into mainstream. That's when I came back to Paris and was hired by Credit Suisse, First Boston at the time. An amazing career move, because it was a AAA bank, where I was immediately sent to London after being selected from many people, and I was number 2 on France for a while, until the number 1 person, who was a Canadian girl, basically conceded to my work, I guess, with the clients, who basically voted for me. So I stayed about 9 years at Credit Suisse in London, where I was in charge of France on many products, European, US, mainly US stocks. Moved to Deutsche Bank with a huge guarantee. They tried to get me to go there. I did. I took the guarantee and then realized my dream. I left the entire business with quite a lot of money, because I had an apartment in Kensington. Got divorced to a beautiful American wife I had, but I was a little bit stressed out at the time. Things didn't work out. And came to France and started trading for myself since 2001. At first I was trading on US indexes, S&P, etc. And then discovered currencies. Now, currencies were much easier for me, because all sorts of systems came to light. So I've basically read every... I also have an MBA, by the way, from the US. And I have worked for a Saudi Arabian bank called Samba, the Saudi American bank, Citibank, for a year or two. But basically my life was having no boss, being arrogant as I am now, telling everybody to buzz off, breaking screens, throwing telephones around, you know, that kind of personality, but always making money. When I started trading for myself, I was surprised that I was able to make some good money for about 10 years. 2008, I ran into a little bit of problem, had a bit of a drawdown like I have on my signal right now, but got out of that, and but started really thinking about how I could trade automatically, because trading manually was very stressful, staring at screens all day. And that's how I came up with the black box method, which is very well documented in all my videos. So I'm not going to go through it, but I think it's probably the best trading method in the world. Whatever anybody says, whatever anybody troll comes over and says, it's the best trading method in the world, especially on 4-hour charts. Now, most of these EAs I've developed for myself, because I'm a very lazy man, and I want machines to do things for me as much as they can. I do my own trades, because I have this uncanny ability to look at a screen like the one I'm looking at right now and decide in a few seconds what trade to make. So I do that on a huge account that I have. I'm talking about a big account. But basically most of my trading is done by my robots. The recent problem I had with my black box is the market has changed, and you need these quick in and outs. To be crude, as I have said before, scalping is what Indians used to do to white people. Basically, when they killed them, they used to take off their scalp. And I think it's a very good expression, because it expresses how cruel the currency world is, and how difficult it is to make money now. Scalping, I think, judging by the amount of scalping products there are, is a good system to trade, unfortunately. And the long-term systems are dying. It's very good to go quickly in and out. Now, most of the scalping systems need very sophisticated discount brokers, all those spreads, all that kind of stuff. What I've done is incorporate everything I know into one little program that will just try and do as many trades, trend trades, volatility trades, contrarian trades, etc., in as quick as time as possible, making very small gains in a random way. Well, we're talking about 2 to 5 pips, which you can make it bigger, but that's what it is. So you can come and criticize whatever you want. For me, that's what I wanted. I wanted that. I wanted a system that can just go in and make 40, 50 cents, but do it 150 times a day. Okay? Now, everybody's saying, I have large. Of course I have to have large stops. Because if you don't have large stops, how are you going to scalp? And you'll be taken out in a few seconds. So you have to have large stops. But what is large? Honestly, it's an ATR stop. Okay? An ATR stop works with volatility. So it will widen when there is a lot of volatility, and it will shrink like a noose when there is little volatility. Okay? It will tighten around. It's a very good stop. But sometimes you get stopped out at what seems to be a high level. But I'm telling you, all you guys using it on demo accounts, and I stress again, demo accounts are not the real thing. Brokers will not spend thousands and thousands of dollars for you to have exact quotes. I'm sorry. It's a joke. I have never used a demo account. I try everything on a real account. You cannot use a demo account unless you're using 4-hour charts, daily charts, monthly charts. You know, how wrong can they go on a 4-hour bar, right? But you want to try a 2-point scalper on a demo account, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. And the only problem with my scalper now is that it's run by the computer, like all scalpers. So if the computer's turned off, or your internet connection is wrong, or your quote is wrong, like on a demo account, it's probably way off, right? You know, you're going to get a weird stop. That's what everybody's carrying on about. These weird but look at my signal, okay? Put aside my equity positions that I've inherited from V6 and all sorts of things, or my own, you know, stubbornness right now on the euro or whatever, which is probably going to pay out big time. Take that out. I could swear I have not seen, I use 0.01 lots, and you know what? The MM is built into the scalper, so I'm not going to get the you know, Daddy-O case who's carrying on about, you know, making 25% a week for 2 months, and then all of a sudden losing all his money because he leveraged himself, and then coming every night and just having a go at me, you know. That's not going to happen, because the biggest loss you get is probably about 15 euros on 0.01. So the scalper will create lots of trades, okay? Another thing this other troll has a problem understanding, you cannot sit around and wait for, you know, 120 euro gain on a $20 investment. It's just not going to happen anymore. It's finished. Those days are gone. You know, this is quick in and out. This is like in New York, they come closer to the stock exchange so they can gain micro millions of seconds to do these hyper trades. It's finished. You're not going to get these trades. You know, if you can make 50 cents or a buck 100 times a day, that's $100. That's great. Come on. That's what my scalper does. Okay? This is a product. And it doesn't need quick internet connections, because what it's using is basically 3 trend modules, you know, a trend module, a volatility module, which works a lot better than on the BBSO because it's been switched around. A breakout module, which is my pet peeve, using what has become again a top product, the squeeze break. Okay,